It's a beautiful picture, isn't it? He will turn the hearts of the disobedient to the wisdom of the righteous. What is wisdom? Plato is famous for having outlined three sorts of wisdom, and he had three words for it. The first was, his word for it in Greek was episteme, and it's the wisdom of the scholar, cleverness, knowledge. The second is the word techne, so it's about technical skill, such as a craftsman or woman has, or an engineer or a carpenter. And then this third word was phronesis. It's the word related to the verb we've been considering the last few weeks, phronein. And phronesis is the noun, and it means a sort of practical wisdom. It means, at the end of the day, knowing how to live. And so here in this verse 17, John the Baptist says, it is said to turn the hearts of the disobedient to make them do as they're told. No, it doesn't say that, actually, quite. We might wish often that we could say that. The frustrating thing is that severe problems can arise when people do as they're told. You may think that's a funny thing to say, but keep listening. One of the main defences that was put up in the Holocaust by the Nazi generals who were being prosecuted for their war crimes was, we were just following orders. We were just doing what we were told. There was quite a battle that the lawyers and prosecutors had to finally persuade people that doing what they were told was exactly the wrong thing. All right, that was the Holocaust. They were being told to do things by bad people. Let me give you another example. The 4-hour rule in the NHS, the 4-hour waiting rule, which seems on the surface to be such a good thing that no one is to wait more than 4 hours before getting treated in hospital. Isn't that a good rule to have? Simon Pattinson and his fellow researchers, I knew Simon a little bit some 8 years ago, wrote a research paper. And his research paper was about shame and humiliation in accident and emergency departments. And he goes on in his paper to describe what happens, and what happened in a particular instance, in fact, as the 4 hours began to approach. And people were aware that if we didn't move on and shift things forward, that very soon that rule would be broken, and then people would start falling off the edge of the one after another would fall off the edge of this 4-hour waiting rule, and lots of people would have to wait for more than 4 hours, and that would be a bad thing, and they get into trouble with the hospital management, who were on their backs for making sure they kept things going. So, and it describes what happens, when the 3.5 hours, 3 hours, 40 minutes comes, and slowly the sense of panic and anxiety rises in the department. People are starting to rush around. You can see them in the background, and they're all trying to shift things so that they're ready to move on to the next patient. And 10 minutes comes, and then they have a word in the ear of the doctor. We really need to move on. We need to be moving things forwards here. And then finally, just before the deadline, the doctor stands up and he says, I'm in charge here, and I will say when this patient is ready and when we've finished with them. And everyone sort of hangs their head in shame, realizing that he's actually right and they're all wrong. And they've been driven by this shame and humiliation culture, which is something that happens when people get clobbered over the head with the rules. And when they only have in mind, we must follow the rule, we must do what we're told. The research report says that what is affected is professional competence, responsibility, integrity, and moral decision-making, all as a consequence of this rule-making culture reinforced with a heavy hand by the managers. So what about the Bible? What about the Bible? How does it approach rules? I'm going to stop speaking, and in the playlist next there's going to be just a musical rendering of Psalm 119 verses 17 to 24. It's the third of 24 stanzas in the longest psalm of the Bible, and that whole psalm is all about the law, the statutes, your decrees, your testimonies, etc. It's all about the law, the Torah, the first 5 books of the Old Testament, and the believer's attitude and response to them. So listen carefully to the words of this psalm, and try and tease out what is the response to those rules.